the flowcharts proves that they developed inhibitors for HIV, to develop control of HIV before they released it. That's how we're so focused here. That here we have a blueprint to go back on with respect to how they put it together. If we certainly have the blueprint that they put it together with, we have then the blueprint to take it apart.
Question, Doc. I guess it's twofold. Where can one download the flowchart that Tyrone is holding up?
Yes.
If someone wants to download that.
Sure. My website is www.boydgraves.com. B-O-Y-D. We have the flowchart here in the audience today for those who want it. The fact of the matter is it's one of the greatest document finds in the history of the world, whether you like it or not, because it is definitive proof. It is beyond reproach. It's beyond reproach. It's one of the greatest document finds in the history of the world, because it shows the design, the purpose, and the intent. Because that takes away their alley for saying that, oh, we were working on something, but it was an accident. Or we were working on something and it escaped. Here you show that you're going to place it into clinical trials. So there was no accident, no escape. It was by design, purpose, and intent. How dare you proclaim that yourself as the greatest democratic constitutional government in the history of the world, while at the same time you've got a Nazi-esque, Hitler-esque program in the back room aimed at the purposes of depleting the black populations of the world. This is the whole story, whether you like it or not. If you want to debate the issue, come on. But you've got to go through the evidence, you've got to go through your own government documentation before you can get to me. And before you can even get to me, you've got to go through my, maybe perhaps I said yesterday, 30 scientists and medical doctors, maybe it's 45 or 50, who have reviewed some of these progress reports and can tell you definitively. If we review this federal program, we will solve AIDS. If Asbury Park in New Jersey is going to lead in this direction, you have an opportunity before you to help and assist us in saving ourselves.
All right. One more question, Doc, and you alluded to it with your 30 scientists. How have you been received, though you've been around the world, how have you been received by quote-unquote black leaders in the mainstream, or from the religious, from the economic realm, entertainers? How have you been received by black leaders from these different fields that could draw attention even more to this area? Because Asbury Park, though we're a small city, we're going to fight, but sometimes you need that entertainer, a la Magic Johnson. Sometimes you need that political figure, a la Barack Obama. You know, sometimes you need a spiritual figure, a la Jesse Jackson, to help bring attention. Minister Farrakhan. How have you been received by black leadership in your quest to expose that?
You know, and I appreciate that question. Because in my world, in my heart, it takes all of us. And it's going to take all of us. However, many of us, through the slave system that we have grown up through in our past, we reach a certain level, and it's difficult for us to reach back for anybody else. In this regard, the so-called black leadership of the United States is something other than what it seems. That anyone can be episodic and grab a microphone when somebody else has done something, just as we saw recently with this Don Imus kind of scenario. And then you see us come out of the woodwork from a black leadership perspective. But it's a reflection of what the larger society, the white society, feels about black people, is that black people are episodic. And so therefore you can inject into black people, and into their thinking, events which distract them from the other events that are going on. So we are clearly being distracted here, as we have pointed out in a number of fashions here. They're in the back rooms every night making up some stuff, and we're in front of the TV with our feet up. Everything, and as I mentioned last evening, that we're in the boat of religion. However, the waterfall is dead ahead. We're in the boat of religion, so the waterfall is dead ahead. And in that regard, the effort here, as you mentioned, to get the word out is just so very important. But what we find from a black leadership perspective is that king of the mountain syndrome, that they're on top, the Sharptons, the Johnsons, with the exception of Minister Farrakhan, who I've had dinner with on 2 separate occasions, whose, as I have shared with him, that his rhetoric is not hollow, that indeed there appears to have been a master plan aimed at your detriment. And it appears to show itself as we look at the sequential history of the development of AIDS, which is also on my website under the timeline. And we take it back as to exactly what they were doing and when they were doing it. And the case in point would be, in getting away from where's our entertainers, where's our celebrities. We're trying for Oprah, we're trying for a number of other things. We've tried for Magic Johnson. All we can do is turn over the rock, and if it's hollow, it's hollow. We find that the entertainment and the black leadership rocks are hollow, that they indeed have got their own pockets filled to the detriment of you and I. I don't believe that they represent my interests, because if they represented my interests, they would be right here, right now, with these black leaders, right here, right now. Here is a federal program that answers why your brother has died, answers why your sister has died. Here are the experiments and the contracts, and they would want to review this special virus program. But yet, there is nothing but silence from that which we call black leadership. Nothing but silence. And that's a challenge to you as well. And I'll tell you what happened to the black ministry, because we always look to the black ministry for their bravado, for their input, for their wisdom, for their leadership. When this first began, it was white homosexuals who were dying in this country, correct? White homosexuals. So we heard the bravado from the black ministry then. God grabbed, because it fit. It fit in order. Service, promiscuous white homosexuals dropping dead. That's a good thing. So we find. Now it's black women dropping dead. The number one group of HIV and AIDS today. I don't hear a peep from the black ministry. Where are you at today?
Come on.
Where are you at today?
Come on.
You see, they twisted you. They led you to believe that it was a gay disease, and that God gets rid of them kind of people. Well, no black woman I know is gay.
Come on.
Not a single black woman I know. So how are black women the number one group coming down with HIV and AIDS? And I'm begging on the table for a reason, to wake you up.
Yes, sir.
Where is our black ministry today? And if you have value with what you believe, and you believe in truth, then stand up. Because here you have the evidence of a government that has faked you out time and time again. And these documents don't lie. You review them, you will see the experiments on black people. You will see the experiments on black women. You will also see the experiments, which I don't have to mention, which I'm mentioning lately, of the breast cancer experiments. Why this rat symbol on the program, the progress reports, why the rat symbol has significance. Because in the DNA of female breast cancer are rat breast cancer cells. Now, where do they come from? How does the black woman have rat cells in her blank body? So the further questions come out. How does a black woman have rat cells? How does a white woman have rat cells? Mouse memory tumor virus, MMTV, and breast cancer. Put it in. MMTV and HIV. Put it in on Google. Mouse memory. A rat breast disease. Mouse memory tumor virus, MMTV. So these are the further questions that we're going to demand that they answer. But right now, you all have had a federal virus program in this country that none of the people knew about. We want that program reviewed. Yes, sir.
Anyone else before we get started?
Thanks, Dr. Grimes. I understand last week you had a conference with Dr. Marty McGinnis of the President's Advisory Council on HIV and AIDS, and I was curious to the fact of what the President's Advisory Council on HIV and AIDS, what their position is, what they're doing, and what action they're taking on the information, and exactly what information you gave them to act on.
Well, it's kind of convoluted, but nonetheless, thank you, Joel. This is Joel Bells, my publisher of my books, State Origin. This is my first book, State Origin, The Evidence of the Laboratory Birth of AIDS, and by the weekend, these will be here. But I also have a second book out called World War AIDS, The Third World War, because indeed it is. Our meeting with the government, teleconference last week with the United States President's Advisory Council was historic, because they came with the traditional attitude that you aren't anything. Whatever issue you're raising is frivolous. That we've done all that we can, Dr. Ray. Well, no, you haven't. And the whole conversation changed last week when we got into this issue of how about the patented cure? How about the cure for AIDS? And they were unaware. Here you have the President's Advisory Council unaware of their own U.S. patented cure that's been on the shelf for the last 10 years. How unacceptable. And that really changed the tenor of the conversation last week with the government. We're looking forward to this outswell here in Asbury Park in the New Jersey area to extend now into the next week as we go back to the United States government and ask for the follow-up as we proceed to get them to do their own job, and that is begin the clinical trials of your own cure.